Hey everybody! Today I'm going to be walking you through a little bit of my stretching routine for the front of hips. These guys, and being able to do stuff like that. It's really good if you're used to sitting in a chair or at an office all day, or even if you just feel stressed and you want to release a little bit of tension, the hips are a great place to start. All you're going to need for this class is somewhere to stretch. I have a yoga mat, but you don't need one. You could also bring a pillow or some yoga blocks if you know you want a little more support in each stretch. So I'll see you soon, in like a second for the video. So I'm going to get started on my fours with my wrists under my shoulders, my knees under my hips, and do a few cat-cows, breathing in and exhaling as I round my spine. Go ahead and do about 3 of those on your own. And you can get a little funky with your cat-cows and do what I like to call a disco cat, which is a full circle. And I'm doing 2 reps in each direction for my disco cat. I'm going to widen my knees to slightly wider than shoulder width apart, and I'm just going to take my hips back to the left, to the front, and to the right, and a few big circles like that. We'll do 3 times in each direction. I'm going to go ahead and switch. And as you do these, we're not really trying to be super flexible right now. We're just doing a gentle warm-up on the hips. I believe that was 3 times in each row. Come back to your fours, and we're going to warm up our body a little bit with some extension. So my left hand and right leg will stay on the ground. My right hand and left leg extend out. I'm going to touch my elbow to knee and back out 5 times. Five times on the other side. And then come back onto your fours. To warm up our glutes, we're going to come into a neutral spine, which is not this, but right in the middle with my core nice and tight. I'm going to do what are called fire hydrants. So I'm going to lift my left leg and hinging from my hip. Just going to the end of my range of motion 10 times. Keep your core engaged and shoulders over wrists. And we'll do 10 on the other side. Gotta work the glutes. Cool. Go ahead and give your wrists a little roll. Crack out your neck. Take a little stretch if you want. And now I'm going to come onto my knees, and I'm going to take my right leg and extend it out to the side. So now my leg is externally rotated. It's not in parallel, but externally rotated. And my extended foot is in line with my standing knee. I'm going to reach up the arm, up, and then over. So I get a nice stretch all along the side from my hip to my lats, even in my arms. And as you do this, make sure you're not caving in like this or going too far back, but just staying right down straight over that leg, reaching up into the side. And go to the other side. Switch. Again, my leg is turned out. I'm flat on my foot. Reaching up as high as I can first, and then over. You should feel this stretch mostly down here along the side of your hips. If you're doing a lot of work with your upper body, you'll probably feel quite a bit here as well. You'll probably feel it wherever you need it the most, which is the best part. Okay, go ahead and release. Give your legs a little shake if you want. And now we're going to start working towards opening up the front of our hips. So we're going to do what I call the Simmons stretch. I'm still in a kneeling position. One foot comes up and turns out completely. So I'm at 90 degrees at my knee, 90 degrees at my ankle, and 90 degrees on my standing knee as well. I'm going to take my right hand, put it on my right knee. For a little sass, I'll put my left hand on my hip. And I'm going to drive my knee over my toes, just into the end of my range of motion. You don't need to push it. And I'll get a nice stretch here and here. Just going to do 10 reps of this. And 6, 7. These are all nice and controlled. It looks like I'm bouncing, but this is a very controlled movement. 9. On my last one, 10, I'm going to stay here. My hand is going to push my knee slightly back, and I'm going to bring my hand down to the ground and my torso forward. Just getting a nice deep stretch there. And if you want, you can even come on to your forearms. We're going to hold this for about 30 seconds. Come on out. I think that was 30 seconds, but I'm using an internal timer, and you know how that goes. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So again, 90 degrees at the ankle, at the knee, 90 degrees on your standing knee. Your left hand goes onto your left knee, right hand on your hip for sass. Make sure your hips are nice and square along with your torso, and 10 reps of a nice controlled stretch, pushing our knee beyond our foot. Last one, I'm going to push that knee back just a bit, come onto my hand or forearm as I bring my torso down for another 30-second stretch. Slowly come on out, give your legs a shake if you need, and come into a seated straddle. Now, before we go on here, if you are somebody whose body tends to round in the low back when you're doing this, a really simple fix is taking a yoga block or a pillow or some books and just sliding them right under your bum, and just get a little bit of height until you find your spine is starting to straighten out. And I can do that. Explain that in another video. But for now, we're in our seated straddle, and we're just going to warm up a little bit by pretending to be a windshield wiper. Woo! Windshield wiper! I keep your vision safe when you're driving in the rain. Woo! You can get weird with it. I'm going to do the same thing with my hands on the ground, with my chest facing the ground. Just getting a nice little warm up here. And coming back to center, check your posture, make sure you're on your sit bones. And now we're going to do something a little different. You may not have done it before. I'm going to externally rotate my legs while I'm in this position. So to do that, it's going to feel like I'm squeezing all of the outer sides of my legs as well as my glute medius or your side butt. I'm going to keep my posture straight, If you look closely at my legs, they're moving as one unit from the hip joint outward. That's an external rotation. I'm going to do 2 sets of 10. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Take a little rest if you want. Fun fact, this looks very funny from behind. Check it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, looks funny, right? Okay, so now that we're a little warmed up, we're going to move into what I call half straddle, half frog. So if you're not familiar with the frog position, it starts on your fours, and your knees basically go to wherever your range of motion is. My hips are in line with my knees, they're not in front, they're not behind, and I can stay here or come on down as I stretch out my inner hip. But we're going to do half of that. So half frog means one leg is bent at 90 degrees, and the other one is going to come out to the side just like it was here. So if you want to come up and check, make sure you're in line first, go ahead. My foot's in line with my knees, my hips are square. I'm going to bring my torso parallel to the ground, and before I stretch, I'm going to do a little bit of active flexibility. So this leg that's extended is going to get a huge glute workout. We'll just start with 5 reps, nice and easy, using my side butt and a few other muscles. I'm going to lift this 5 times. Okay, I'm going to do 10. Same thing, other side. Cool. All right, we'll come back to the first side that you did that little exercise on. And this time, we're going to stretch. My yoga mat's really sticky, yours probably is too, so you might want to roll up where your foot goes for this one, or even give your knee a little extra padding. So, I make sure I'm all lined up. I bring my torso forward, hips are still in line. I'm going to imagine pushing my foot as far away from this knee as I can until I come down to the end of my range of motion. And I'm going to stay here for 45 seconds. And as I'm staying here, I'm not doing anything too active. This foot is reaching out as much as it can, but I'm not pushing anything too hard. I'm not forcing myself downwards into the ground. I'm just letting my body do its thing and stretch long enough that my brain turns off and lets the body stretch. A few more seconds. Okay, and slowly bring yourself back up. I realize I might have more range of motion than some of you watching this video, so if you were here and that was stretching, great, stay there. You don't need to go as far as I go, and if I'm not going far enough to reach your level, let me know in the comments and I'll make a video for you more flexible folks. But in the meantime, I'm going to switch sides. Again, just going to get my sticky yoga mat out of the way. Line up my leg with my hip, pushing my leg outward into my range of motion, bringing my my upper feet, my hands onto the ground. I'm going to go into my forearms, and I'm going to stay here for another 45 seconds. A lot of times when we're stretching our front hips and our inner legs, there's so much tension that gets built up there that we don't realize. And one of the best things you can do for your body as well as your brain as you're experiencing all these sensations in your hips is just breathe. Just breathe and try and release any tension that you might be holding on to there. A few more seconds. And slowly bring your weight onto your hands. Bring that foot back up. put your yoga mat put your yoga mat back. If you moved it like me, move your curtains out of the way. And we're gonna come back to our seated straddle. Now, after those stretches and that active work, you might notice your straddle is a little bit more open. Maybe you don't even need to sit on a block anymore, or maybe you need more time to warm up. I just have one or two last things to share with you before the end of the video, and the second to last one is the oh so wonderful pancake stretch. So my legs are in a seated straddle. I'm gonna keep my spine straight, walk my hands forward, and I'm actually doing a little bit of that external rotation we practiced earlier so that my knees don't end up kind of like this. That's not good. So turning your legs out, bringing your chest forward, and if this is a good place for you to be, stay here. If you want to keep walking out, go ahead. Maybe you're on your forearms, maybe you're flat on the ground. We're gonna stay here for about another 45 seconds. Or 45 seconds of like Sarah time, whatever that is. If you are towards the floor, think about letting the weight of your belly be absorbed by the floor, just really resting on the floor, letting all that weight be supported by either your hands or the ground, whatever you have available. If you get bored, you can flex and point your toes, like me. Few more seconds here. Give yourself just a little bit of a push. Just kind of push the edge of your limit, but don't go past it. Just push the edge. One more deep breath here. Slowly walk yourself back to upright. Give your legs a little jiggle. And for this last stretch, you can do the frog, which I explained earlier. So that looks like a very wide fours position with your hips matching up with your knees, stretching back. Or if you like and you have the space for it, you can do a belly to floor straddle, which looks like this, standing with my weight supported. Both of my feet push outward, my torso comes to the floor, and I'm gonna stretch here for just under 1 minute. This is the last big stretch we're doing in the video, so just hang in there. You're doing great. Your hips might not feel great, but think of how good they're gonna feel 50 seconds from now when this is over. On each exhale, release a little bit. You might notice there's places in your hips or in your torso or even in your hands or neck where you're like holding on, trying not to let the stretch happen, but just let it go a little bit. Give yourself the support you need so you don't injure yourself and overstretch. My internal timer says we probably have about 20 seconds left. If you're at home watching this, you're probably watching the thing on YouTube go second by second, like, hurry up, Sarah, you're counting too slow. But that's my video, so too bad. 10 more seconds, and let's just focus on our breathing for these last 10 seconds. Two more breaths. Whatever degree of the stretch you're in, start to make your way back up to seated. Give your legs a little support. they've done a lot. It might be hard to move them. Go ahead and pick them up. Bring them back together. And just give your legs a little shake out in front of you. Little jiggle, internal and external, a little up and down. Maybe some of these guys, whatever feels good. And for the very end, you're just going to come back to your fours. Put your hands out about 1 hand's distance in front of you. Come back into a child's pose. And when you're ready, you can slowly bring yourself back up to seated. If this was not enough of a stretch for you, I would encourage you just to slow down the speed setting in the video or pause it and do however long or short of a time you need in each of the stretches we did. Until then, if you have any questions, you can write them in the comments. You could also subscribe to the channel because I have a lot more good stuff coming your way. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.